I'm going to take you back in time. So it's the first official day of Sydney WorldPride, and I am wheeling down William Street in Woolloomooloo in Sydney. That's right, Sydney WorldPride 2023 didn't just happen in 2 weeks between February to March. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and I will keep giving those gifts. I went to the opening night of Ground Zero at Brand X in Darlinghurst. Darlinghurst is a small suburb in Sydney, very close to the CBD. So in this episode, you're going to hear performances and interviews from artists who identify as disabled, hard of hearing, part of the deaf community, and neurodivergent. And we'll talk about why disability inclusion in the arts is important, and what it means to be a person with a disability in the LGBTQI+ community.
I am Robin Reynolds, the Rumours Are True. I'm here to MC this gorgeous, gorgeous showcase. This is a showcase full, chock to the brim, full of talent. It is all queer talent, and the talent is disabled / chronically. Please don't cancel me.
Oh wait, no, actually, no, remember, cancel me, because then I'll get to play stadiums.
Oh yeah, great.
That would be so great.
Well, I'll start the podcast like this, okay? Yeah. Is that all right?
Okay, I'll enjoy myself. Hi, I'm Robin Reynolds. I have had half a champagne. I emceed the showcase, and then I did comedy at the end. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Carroll. Also very pleased to be here. Slay. Yeah, and I did a little bit of text sound movement piece about being queer, Pacific and disabled.
I'm Artemis Munoz. My pronouns are they, them. I normally live and work on Wurundjeri land, what most of you all will know as Melbourne. And I am a theatre and cabaret artist. Tonight I shared a little something that I've been working on about the experience of being aspec and doing the online dating thing.
How do you all feel about performing for Sydney WorldPride?
I mean, it's a dream come true. No, it actually is. It feels really cool to be, especially performing on Sydney WorldPride. Like, it's not just Pride, baby, it's WorldPride, so I'm stoked.
When I think of everything that had to lead up to me performing here, starting comedy like 4 and a bit years ago, moving to Sydney, I mean, yeah, because I'm English originally, and then deciding to be out in the comedy scene as well. Everything just leading up to this has been really gorgeous, and then being asked to MC the showcase as well as be in it, everything has just been mind-blowing, and I feel incredibly, sorry to be sincere, but I feel incredibly blessed.
What I will say is one of the first moments of me creating art, of writing songs, was for like the 2014 WorldPride. Me and a friend decided we wanted to try and write an anthem for the ACE contingent, and we put it on YouTube. And since then, I've only grown so much. Like, the songs I wrote then needed some work, but they were really important to me at the time, and to come full circle and be performing here at a WorldPride event is super lovely and melts my little heart.
I would say intersectionality is everything. It's so lovely for me to even be included as I said on stage. It's so lovely to be included as a bi girl who has a boyfriend, and I'm open about that. And it's so nice to even have that, because I have people come up to me afterwards and be like, I'm bi and I have a boyfriend, or I have Crohn's disease. Tonight, someone was like, I have Crohn's disease and I'm bi. And I love that, because I was never looking for someone like me on stage. I grew up watching white male comedians. I still loved comedy, but I never saw myself doing it until I got really drunk out in Sydney at an open mic, and then I accidentally did comedy. And ever since then, the idea that someone in the audience is watching me do it and thinking, oh my God, either I can do that too, or I relate to everything she's saying, that is intersectionality. That is, I am also this, I am this person as well. that kind of representation is so key.
We are all disabled, we are all queer, we are all chronically ill in some way. So really, whatever you feel like we're putting out there, I promise you, this is how we want you to see us. If we say something that you think maybe they want us to laugh at this, we probably do, please laugh. If it's like melancholy and it's beautiful and you're going on that journey, come on that journey with us. Please, this is how we want you to see us. Do you think you can do that for me tonight? Give me a cheer.
Disabled people are 20% of the population, 1 in 5, right? And so if you look at the amount of queers, a large number of them are going to be disabled as well. And if we're building spaces not assuming that there are going to be queer disabled people there, those spaces are going to be excluding people by default. So that's why if we don't have these voices in the arts or just in general in any decision-making spaces, people are going to get left out and they're going to feel like they can only be one thing or another, that they can be disabled but they can't be queer, or they can be queer but they can't be disabled, and and that's bullshit.
Yeah, I think I echo what both of you said, and I think for me it's definitely always comes down, as cheesy as it's going to sound, representation matters. Print that baby. But it does, and I think, being on the intersection, like for me being on the intersection of different identities and growing up and not really seeing myself on stage or on screen, so being able to be a voice for that during WorldPride and in a showcase in a space that's with other amazing queer disabled artists, oh my god, I will say it. I think that's why it's so important, just to represent, and hopefully someone feels seen.
Up first, we have a movement piece. It is an absolutely stunning way to start our night, and the artist doesn't want me to say too much because they don't want to influence you. Just feel what you want to feel, just really go on that journey. Up first, it is my absolute pleasure and honour to introduce the movement piece Spoons by Saskia Ellis. Please bring it up.
This performance piece is called Spoons by Saskia Ellis. Music composed by Witchings. Saskia is a queer, neurodiverse freelance artist, choreographer, and facilitator of dance education and movement accessibility. Everyone interprets art differently. For me, this performance is dark. It's moody, it's emotional, it's light. Saskia is a graduate of Sydney Dance Company's pre-professional year. Their themes include vulnerability, queerness, womanness, and openness.
Pleasure to introduce the man who helped choose us all for this residency. He is the access consultant for Brand X, he is the creative director for Ground Zero, and he is literally the most supportive person I have ever worked with. Here just to say a few words now, please give all of your love to Dan Graham.
Dan, who are you? Tell people who you are.
Who am I? Oh, what's the time? It is almost 11 o'clock at night. Become a pumpkin in an hour. I am the creative director of this wonderful project that you very wonderfully came to see this evening, Ground Zero, which was supported, as I said, by Brand X, Sydney WorldPride. I'm also the access consultant here at Brand X. And in that role, I'm also the chair of an access committee, which is led by, and I keep saying this, and I would say till the cows come home, so to speak, which is people on that panel, as in this showcase. people who are professional artists with a disability. And as we discussed, that's a funny concept, but people, you're nodding, if only this was visual, you would see nods. That is very important to show that not just in terms of LGBTQI, which I'm proud to be part of, as well as obviously part of a neurodiverse disability community, but there are professional artists out there who are just waiting to be seen more than just 2 nights.
So what does it mean for you to be representing everything you represent and having other people represent people with disabilities in performing arts for Sydney WorldPride?
To me, you just said it in that statement, it's everything. Someone asked me a couple of days ago, said, it must be 2 weeks to get to this point. And I half jokingly, and I think I can speak for a lot of artists with different ages, of course, it's actually been about 40 plus years for me to get to this point as a proud queer, male-identifying, neurodiverse, disabled artist. I always say that it's really interesting that as someone who identifies as being part of both communities, but I'm going to talk about a disability, neurodiverse, hard of hearing community in this context. I literally, a couple of years ago, started on, and I've lasted 5 minutes without saying the word journey, on this journey in terms of access, because I saw there were people in the performing arts who were speaking on behalf of my disability, neurodiverse, hard of hearing family, who weren't part of the community, who was speaking on behalf of the community. And I always say, and to everyone here, to quote Dylan Alcott, he does not speak, nor do I, speak on all people with disabilities. I can only speak for myself, and if that makes sense. It is my hope, as talking as Dan Graham, I would hope this would be the start of a continuing relationship, not just with Brand X, Wells Family Foundation, WorldPride, but a wider performing arts community to show there are professional artists with a disability out there. And we are out there, if you know. So I think if we can remember that, because quite often I've been talking to my fellow New Ground Zero family, and we've made a comment is, what do we want to do? We just want to create art. We are all artists. It's I was going to say it's not brain surgery, but you know what I mean. It's literally just what we want to do. We want to show what we can do to not just the community, but the arts community as a whole, which is a very good segue that I always find it very interesting that basically in this whole talk about diversity, and I hate to be political, but I have to on this, we still see disability as that other.
But I incredibly recently was given what I thought was an incredible opportunity to produce an accessible, quote-unquote, comedy lineup. So there was money for Auslan interpretation, there were wheelchair accessible venues, etc., and I was allowed to book whomever I wanted. So I could book comedians with lived experience of disability and chronic illness. And it was a fantastic opportunity, and I want to receive more opportunities like this, please and thank you, City of Sydney. But it was very difficult to find a wheelchair accessible venue in the CBD. When we did find one, you might think from the outset that a venue is accessible and then find out, actually, no, that person can't order from the bar. There's nowhere for them to hang out. There's nowhere for them to get through. If they sit there, then people aren't able to walk through. It's just all these things that able-bodied people or people who are not empathetic and thinking about other things visualize and think how it's just all this forward thinking that you don't think about most of the time, and then you deal with the situation and you're like, oh shit, this is not accessible. This is billed as an accessible venue. It's not accessible. And if we can't get to the gigs, then we can't perform. And I'm using the royal we, even though I'm not a wheelchair user, but some of the best comedians that I've fucking seen sorry to effing blind, but some of the best comedians that I want to book are not able-bodied, and I want to be able to refer them on. I want to be able to recommend them for everything. I think that they should be on these gigs, and the fact that they can't get in the door and get onto the stage is criminal. And we are losing out on these incredible voices and these really funny fucking comedy sets because they can't get to the stage.
It gives me so much pleasure. It is my absolute delight to introduce Artemis Munoz, who is going to be playing No Romo!
But I'm bathed in light, but something's not right. Yes, I'm all alone. Tell me how to fix it. Well, if you won't tell me how to fix it, I'm gonna have to work it out myself. So, thank you so much. You're all exceptionally useful. Yes, do applaud yourselves. You're doing such a great job. Such a great job. Look, I do have one idea. But you ever, have something pop into your head and you're like, ooh, that seems like not the best plan, but, you do it anyway? Yeah, my whole family has a real issue with this type of thing, and I guess you could say the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, but some of the stuff my family done, it's pretty funny. My cousin was 3 when we worked out that he had a nut allergy. His parents kept him safe, but then he was 24 and he kind of felt in the mood to explore, so he tried one. Then he died. I'm totally kidding. He didn't die, but he wasn't alright. But why do something bad for you, fully knowing it could fuck you up? Why do something bad for you? Did the curiosity get too much? Why do something bad for you, fully knowing it could hurt like hell? Why do something bad for you? I mean, who can tell, right? My sister had debts, and she hated her job. Yes, she had some regrets, but the repayments couldn't stop. But then she saw this wee pup with such a cute little face, she had to eat him all up, so she bought him, and then she swore. What did she need another expense for? Oh God, but why do something bad for you, fully knowing it could fuck you up? Why do something bad for you? Did the curiosity get too much? Why do something bad for you, fully knowing it could hurt like hell? Why do something bad for you? I mean, who could tell, right? So yeah, I downloaded Hinge, which is probably a bad idea for most people, but maybe especially for me, given that I'm aro-ace. In case you don't know what that means, it's short for aromantic asexual. And in case you don't know what that means, I basically don't experience sexual attraction to anyone, or romantic attraction even. And I know what you're thinking, I can see those smirks there in the front row. You can put them away, because I know you're thinking, what makes me different from my family? But, this doesn't compare to the things my family have done. And, honestly, if you were to make that argument, I would have to say, who says it's bad for me? Who says it has to fuck me up? Who says it's bad for me? It's more than curiosity. I have needs that I shouldn't bottle up. Who says it's bad for me? Who says it has to hurt like hell? Who says it's bad for me? I actually think, and this might accessibility. People talk about aiming for this perfect, this is a accessible show. We've done it. We've ticked all the boxes. But the thing people need to realize is disability is not a monolith, and even in the most accessible examples of the arts that we have, there's still a lot of work that can be done, ways that we can step things up, revolutionize the way we talk about art, how is it accessible for artists? How is it accessible for audiences? How do we bridge that divide between artist and audience? And also, like, disability arts is its own world. It's like very much treated like a sort of segregated subcategory of the art. The segregation is silly. It's good to have community of 100%, but mainstream arts catch the fuck up. And it was a difficult conversation. But as a result, we took touch out of our relationship. And we still do have a relationship. Like, not everything has to end in tragedy. But tragically, my time with you is ending. I know. It's so sad. But I do want to quickly share what happened afterwards. I deleted the apps. Yeah, thank you. But I was still getting something from them that I needed to get from somewhere else. I worked it out. I decided it this morning. I've been ignoring myself, and connection's not a great excuse. It's not as if nobody warned me, but no one taught me the different things that I could do if I wanted to meet someone new. Till I left you for my gaming group. I left you for my local board gaming group. I left you for my gaming group. I left you for my local board gaming group. There's a place around the corner, and once a week they host a board game night, and I've never been surer. Yeah, I was lonely, but those apps weren't serving me right. What I needed was to roll some dice. So I left you for my gaming group. I left you for my local board gaming group. I left you for my gaming group. I left you for my local board gaming group. It's time to delete those apps and replace them with my favorite activity. Every single thing that I lack can be found in other ways. I thought it's what I needed, but now I clearly see I was just poisoned by a normativity. Every single thing I found in those apps can be found inside board games. If I needed someone to lie to me, we could play werewolf or coup. If I wanted to watch everything fall to the ground, Jenga is there too. If I wanted to feel like part of a team, there's Pandemic or Hanabi or Betrayal at House on the Hill before the betrayal part happens. If I wanted to push my luck, there's a whole genre of game called Push Your Luck, Push Your Luck, Push Your Luck. Woo! If I wanted to build something beautiful, we could play Sagrada Rasul. If I wanted to hide something, we could play Sniper Elite or Letters from Whitechapel. If I wanted to feel someone's body crush my body, we could play Twister and wait till we all fall over. If I wanted to find a new family, we could play board games. We could play board games. After me, we could play board games. Your turn. We can play board games. My turn. We could play board games. Your turn. We can play board games. Just me. We could play board games. Thank you so much.
I was just mentioning that every single performance that was put on tonight was like about everyday things and drip feeding their own disability.
That's when I came over and heard you, because Lav was if I can put my political spin on it, that's what was very important in me selecting the artists, because we had so many artists apply, and as I said, hint, 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 we would love to take this further. I always make a statement, and I've done this for as long as I can remember. Guess what? Because when people are, inverted commas, sorry for me, which I'm sure we've all experienced, that lovely attitude, you know, and the statement is, guess what? I was born with it, I'm living with it, guess what? I'm going to die with it. And so, oh, that's depressing. No, it's a statement. You know, and I think it's how you, from anyone from any diverse community, responds to that. And dare I say that literally, I would like to think, and obviously, and I think this is what was so important about tonight, that is to show that people with disabilities are not just a disability. And I'm not saying obviously all people with disabilities are part of the LGBTQ community. I'm not saying that at all. But there are many different levels and faces, pictures, whatever. I'm trying to think of a better word later on. You know, to an individual.
It's an absolute pleasure. So this is an anecdotal storytelling piece. It is an excerpt from his longer show, New Balance. I want you to start bringing the applause up from the back of the room. Start bringing it up. Go absolutely crazy for Christopher Bryant!
The social model of disability states, you are not disabled by your body, brain, or senses. You are instead disabled by society, by the world around you that refuses to help lighten the load even one little bit. The other night, I was at this very large, multi-level queer party thing. Every time that I'm in these kind of environments, I'm made acutely aware that they're just not really meant for me. I move in these sort of self-conscious zigzags, like always watching. So I go over here, but not over here. Here might be okay, and then here might be. Meanwhile, those in the majority move easily, fluidly, shifting in and out of every experience with an ease that maybe I'll never have again. I am dancing with some friends, which is wild, because I don't dance usually. And I can see across the way, one of these friends facing me. And then somebody else with his back to me, leaning into my friend and saying something, I don't really know what. But my friend looks concerned. He looks uncomfortable. Truth told, I had a cap of MDMA. I was on my way to peaking, and this apparently unlocked some greater motherly instinct I'd just been repressing, you know? I can do this. I think I've been uncomfortable in situations like this before. I've wanted help. I stride forward. I reach out. I grab his hand, not pulling, but just letting him know, I'm here, babe. I can help you if you need. There is a moment of extreme tension. Me looking at my friend at this guy, and then it breaks. And my friend pushes past, smiling. Oh, he's blind. I sort of nod in acceptance and relief. But it's not until a few hours later, when I'm home, that I begin to realize this didn't mean blind drunk, but legally blind. There was a young man who could not see in the midst of the dance floor at 2 a.m., shaking hands with strangers in the hopes he'll find something among the bodies and the noise and the sweat around him. A friend, a connection, something. It's patronizing, but I feel a lot of guilt about this. It's kind of misplaced guilt, I think. I couldn't see he was blind, but if I could, I feel like I would have done something. Shaking his hand, introduced myself. Yeah, what? Fucked him. I feel guilt because it's the same thing when somebody on Grindr or Scruff just casually drops the R slur. It's the same thing when I meet someone new and I have to come out of the closet again and again and again, managing expectations and this internalized ableism. I'm not just gay, I'm also disabled. Oh no, it's okay though, I'm not like disabled. And I know how difficult it is in this context. Like I know the downside to the so-called community, this queer, not gay, muscle dude bros in dresses and body positivity reserved just for Lizzo community. I'm queer and I'm disabled, but I'm also white. I'm middle class. I have a job. I go to the gym. I am easily afforded a part in this community, and it's not a bit part. It's one where I can get on stage, talk for a bit, and people will listen. I know this community. I'm told it's our community. And I take part in it because there's not really another one. But it needs to be chipped away, yeah? From the inside, every single day. Everyone acknowledging the shit that we have all internalized and actively trying to reject it. The heteronormative, abled world is so intent on hurting our communities, it does not make sense for us to hurt each other. I mean, how do you make new friends if not by fucking them first, right? And how do you not feel ashamed when all you're doing is seeing the world for what it actually is? The other day someone asked me why I write. They were asking, I guess, about motivation or self-determination or a third thing ending in nation. But it kind of stumped me nonetheless. Like, why do I write? I write because I kind of can't not. I write to try and understand the world and to make sense of it, to filter it through my head and heart, to pour it onto the page, offer it to anyone who will listen and say, does anybody else see this, feel this, fucking relate to it? Does this make anyone else feel so right and so wrong, so queer and fan-fucking-tastic, or am I alone? Writing is queerness, and queerness is writing, and fucking, and shouting, and laughing, and eating, and vomiting, trauma, shirking responsibilities, and it's rolling your eyes when your mum says, what a little lady killer your 5-year-old cousin is. And it's losing your virginity at 17 because you signed up for a website for gay men to meet in secret, and you wanted to beat your brother who lost his virginity at 18. It's hiding behind the football field on sports day because running is actually beneath you. It's the look of knowing that you've got with another faggot when you serve them at the store. It's sitting down to piss. It's being 18 and hoping that you pass a straight. And then it's being 28 and fucking hoping that nobody thinks you are straight. It's being fucking angry about kids locked offshores in cages and bushfires and governmental mismanagement and pandemics. It's fighting, it is always fighting, it is never giving up because there is so much to be angry about and fuck me dead, anger gets shit done. Anger is solidarity and our 4 faggots did not die. Us to get complacent or married, for fuck's sake. It's ticking outside of the box. It's ticking outside of the goalposts. It's asking somebody's name after you have fucked them. It's starting to presume maybe everyone's gay, because it's better than presuming that they're straight. And it's finding your family, your true family, because queerness is thicker than blood, but it is always drinking water, because queers are hydrated, and we have beautiful skin. Queerness is also intersectional. Hear me out. Because that word gets thrown around an awful lot, but it is true. The community often fails where it tries to be intersectional, and let's be real, quite often just doesn't fucking try at all. But, like, okay, true queerness, yeah? Like the concept of queerness. Like Plato's queerness is intersectional. So according to Plato's theories of forms, objects on this earth are really just approximations of their ideal forms, which is the true reality. Now, Plato also writes that art is lower again because it's twice removed from reality. It's an imitation of an imitation. So therefore, a performance of queerness is an imitation of imperfect queerness, which is itself an imitation of the form of queerness. And the form of queerness is intersectional because all of the best things are. They are disabled, unable, and they are every body type, and they are every color under the skin. For the longest time, I lived my life with one foot firmly in the closet. Every time that I would meet somebody new, I would just be on high alert, waiting for them to trip up and reveal themselves to me as homophobic. I remember being 25, in rehab, learning to live with a newly very injured brain, and a friend of mine smiling at me, "Live it up, babe. I reckon you can get at least 50 years out of this." I remember my father that night screaming at me for the idea I would ever be so fucking selfish because other people have it worse. The friend later that day smiled at me, nodded, "Well, yeah, you're disabled." I remember I felt intense shame when he said this to me. A presumed judgment of my worth, my art, my quality, my ability, my fuckability. I know this wasn't his judgment, but it was mine. Around that time, I began to rely on a particular turn of phrase. I have a disability, but I'm not disabled. For me, at that point, that was a really important definition. It spoke to what I had been through, but it didn't let anybody confuse me as somebody with actual disadvantage. This was a product of my internalized ableism. At that point, for me, disability was a negative word with negative connotations rather than just a factual statement. My life is now limited by the barriers set up by our society. I straddle two pretty distinct worlds. I stand with one foot in the white, relatively fit gay camp. It's a camp where I've had some pretty good sex sometimes, a lot of not good sex, where I've made some friends and lovers who cherish me and who I cherish more than anything. But it is also a community that has undermined me, overlooked me, reminded me that my worth should stay entirely in my flesh, my body, and ability, not in my person. I also stand with the other foot in the queer, disabled person camp. This camp has taught me to move away from shame, that every experience of disability is a valid experience. It has taught me to expand my world, its cause and effect. The communal experience of disability has worked to lessen my shame of my sexuality and of my disability, shame that I was not born with, but that was thrust upon me. But sharing is the way that we can best subjugate shame, so thank you for listening.
In 2020, Christopher Bryant, a Griffin Award-nominated playwright, completed his PhD in theatre inclusion at Monash University. He actually recently performed this one-man show, New Balance, last April at the Old Fitz Theatre in Woolloomooloo. Yeah, so I noticed that you guys were like drip-feeding everyday scenarios into your performance while also talking about your disability, which is actually something that people, I don't assume, I know, don't really think people with disabilities have everyday lives. Like, you're talking about living in the 90s there, Sarah, with your Walkman, early 2000s.
Without further ado, Sarah's part really encompasses the showcase element. There's a bit of spoken word, there's a comedy tinge to it, storytelling. So I don't want to ruin it, but it really does have a bit of everything, and you're going to absolutely love it. So let's bring up one of those applauses again that you've been doing for. Okay, amazing. Please welcome to the stage for Coconut Babies, it's Sarah Lee Carroll!
can say hi back. Oh wow, that was brought the love. Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I'm what they call Afrikazi in the Samoan language, and that basically means that I'm mixed race. Woo! I am half Ratuman, don't worry. I feel like there are a lot of white people in here, so I'm gonna have to explain it and get educational. Ratuma is an independent colony of Fiji. It has its own culture and traditions. You can walk around the island in one day, it's pretty cool. And that's on my mum's side, so it does make me Polynesian. And then my dad's just white. So we don't need any explanation about that. Whatever. And because I have the complexion of Snow White, I'm aware, people often put an identity on me and don't guess that I'm Pacifica at all. But I did grow up between Australia and Fiji, and I want to share something. She's going to do a little bit of text. That's what's going to happen. So I wrote this a few years after my grandpa passed away. So I'm just going to read it. My earliest memory was every Christmas being filled with anticipation and excitement for the family trip to Fiji. I can still imagine my grandpa sitting down in the waiting area with his hands crossed in his lap, often napping, but like a sixth sense, he knew it was us coming through arrivals. He would jump up at the bounce in his step and give me a warm hug. I took lots of trips to Fiji. It became my second home. Although it feels more distant as the years go on and I grow older, mourning my grandpa who always called me his fairy princess. He gave me a sense of protection in my life and guidance that I was doing the right thing, being who I am. He was always there for me when my mum would scold me for eating too many pineapple tarts, and then he would sneak me another one. But there is one vivid memory that often haunts me in my sleep. I would wake up at 7 a.m. every morning and meet my grandpa in the garden. He would walk through the gate with his stubby legs, puffing from his morning walk. My grandpa then begins to climb the coconut tree. I would watch in amazement, feeling the spiky grass on my feet and the warm touch of the sun on my then soft olive-toned skin. I suddenly feel a sense of panic, like someone had a truck on my chest and I was unable to move. It was a feeling that even at 8 years old, I would lose him and I couldn't protect him. My grandpa husked the coconut in a strong motion, beads of sweat running down his face. The sound of husking sounds like power drills and seems so much bigger than me. The sounds get louder and louder and I close my eyes and try to distract myself. It sounds like the whole world is moving so much quicker than me. And I can't move until the coconut finds its breaking point. The inside looks like clouds, the kind that I see in my dreams. My grandpa offers me a piece with a proud smile. And then there's my grandma. So my grandma holds the very traditional Pacific ideologies that I struggle with in the Pacifica culture. I grew up, and this would be my grandma, quote for quote, she'd go, "Mapinga, you look a little round on the face. Oh, I could almost fit into your clothes. Oh, are you gonna wear that? You need to wear something longer for church. Otherwise the men will look at you. Oh, when are you gonna find a boyfriend, a husband, stay home, cook for him?" Little did she know I was a raging bisexual. I think that still haunts me today, what my grandma's enlisted in me. But there is an era that shaped me. PowerPoints. Y2K, an era that defined me. Next slide. Okay, we're gonna take it back. Okay, MSN, MySpace. Yeah, woo! Yeah. Okay, I was more of a MySpace girly. Like I was doing all the codes and stuff. Because I didn't have many friends to talk to on MSN. Yeah, because I had ADHD and I was a weird person. I also have autism, so that's really exciting. Thank you, that's new. Next slide. All right, here we go. Okay, so we've got Katy Perry. Now, if you know me, you know I'm a Katy Perry stan. I'm a Katy cat. I wrote a show about it. Plug. But 2008 Katy Perry specifically literally changed my life. Like, I kissed a girl and I liked it. Okay, Lady Gaga, like 2008 Lady Gaga, Just Dance, Poker Face, changed my life. Like, I could have gone either way, but I became a Katy Cat instead of a little monster. Sorry about it. Okay, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Now, this one shaped me because I grew up, so America Ferrera, her character was the fat one. Like, literally, it was like, oh, she's so big, and oh my God. And so I grew up being like, holy crap, I'm a fat piece of shit. So just think about that. Think about the movies you watch. Sharpay, High School Musical. Have you any High School Musical stands? Woo! Yeah! Okay, I want you to think about something. Sharpay is not the villain. Yes! Gabriella! Yes! There's a whole Reddit thread on it. Go to the deep dive. Like, it changed my life. Like, Sharpay's main character energy, and that's how I want to be living. So, thank you, Sharpay. Next slide. Okay, here we go. All right, Supre. That store is trending now. Now, back in my day, it wasn't. Like, it was like you were wearing the long sleeve shirts with the purple pinafore dress, and that was hot. That was like cool. Now it's not. Also, the pink bags. My God, if you didn't have one, fuck off. Get out. You're not cool. I had 10, took them to PE. It made me feel like I was one of the mean girls. DVDs. Blockbuster. Video Easy. Is that, yeah, some people are nodding. Yeah, is it taking you back? I didn't have Netflix when I was growing up. Like, I literally would go to Blockbuster and I would pay $1 for a weekly. I'd get $7. That's a bargain. iPod Shuffle. Now, that was my first one. My parents wouldn't let me get the one with the screen press. I had to save up for that. But can I just say, the other day, Gen Z thought it was a hair clip. Actually, kind of revolutionary, but that made me feel really old. A Walkman. Okay, who remembers those? Yeah! Oh my God, you'd put a fucking CD in it, and then you'd like listen to it. But they're now called vintage like headphones because now everyone has AirPods. I had Hilary Duff, Lizzie McGuire soundtrack. This is what dreams are made of. Okay, now, yeah. What else do we have? Hannah Montana. That was a cultural reset. Yeah. Then you'd buy drinks with that shit on it, and that's how I get my parents to buy them. So I'd be like, oh my God, that Hannah Montana's on it. Next slide. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. The Princess Diaries. Oof. That movie quite literally made me want to become an actress. I watched every single Anne Hathaway film that there was, even Havoc. And if you've seen that one, I probably shouldn't be watching that film at 13, but leave me alone. Later learned out in life, that's called ADHD hyperfocus. Yeah. Twilight. So any Twilight stands? Yeah! It's okay, you can be proud about it, I am. Don't let the world tell you otherwise. I was Team Edward and Bella. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I do now. It means I was a raging bisexual. Yeah. But no, I am seriously proud to be standing here, to be queer, Pacifica, and disabled. Woo! Yes! Especially, during Sydney WorldPride. That's pretty cool. And I guess the show, when I was creating it, I wanted to create something about being on the intersection of many different identities. And I was like, how do you put that in 15 minutes? So then it kind of became more on the nose, just being like, I'm here, this is who I am, take it or leave it, I'm proud of who I am and all my excellence. Because usually I kind of put it in more subtext in my work, so people are like, ooh, wow, thinking. But I was like, fuck it. I'm like sick of masking, and I just want to be like, this is who I am, okay? So thank you! Oh, I'm just gonna have a little celebration now. We're gonna do a little dancey dance. We can cue the music. Okay, I wanted to do a sexier song, but I couldn't get the rights to Afro, so you're just gonna have to live with this. Yeah.
I actually can't keep playing that song because I don't have the royalty rights. But if you have not picked up on it, that is definitely Wheatus with Teenage Dirtbag. You know that video clip that was like in American Pie and had that woman in it? She's saying something about Iron Maiden. It was very iconic. You're just talking about everyday things that we all experience.
I'm gonna go a fucking step further. I feel like people don't even think about people with disability. Like, I don't think that they think about inner lives or inner monologues. I feel like if you don't see it and you don't interact with it in your life, you don't think about it. 'Cause I grew up, my little sister is disabled, and I grew up being a disability carer, and I didn't get diagnosed with Crohn's until I was about 24, I think, but I had been ill for years and years, and it was so hard to get a diagnosis. But I grew up being the one able-bodied kid doing chaperones to a cinema. And I know we were just talking about accessibility, but like, yeah, even places that, yeah, they have a lift, like I had to shepherd people up and down, up and down. We were never all together as a group. It was so difficult. I'd take us all out bowling, and even that would be its whole thing. So even places that they perceive themselves as being very accessible, and they'll advertise themselves as, oh yeah, we're accessible. I'll ring up and be like, yeah, we can take a big group. And you know what, when you get down to it, the mechanics of it, no, you can't. But I grew up seeing that and interacting with it. And people who don't do that, they have no idea. They don't think about it. It doesn't affect their daily life. And then suddenly, like, someone you know will get into like an accident, or they'll have an operation, and maybe they'll have to have a moon boot, and they'll come to me and they'll be like, Robin, did you know, like, I can't bloody get to this gig now because of this? And I'm like, yeah,
yes,
I do know. Yeah, there were friends in the UK that when I moved to Sydney, I was like, I wouldn't be able to take so-and-so here. And it really is, if you're not in it, you don't think about it. But I can tell you, it's real, it's there, it's so difficult. And I don't even think it's a case of, oh, people think people with disability like don't have these same, they're not even thinking about us. They're not even thinking about it.
Can I say something kind of dark?
No.
Well, it's like I think most people in this world will become disabled at some fucking point, and I think that the existence of disabled people around them reminds them of that, and it's threatening, and that's why people don't wear masks to gigs, because we'd rather pretend that COVID doesn't exist than accept the fact that we're in a mass disabling event, you know, and things like that. It's just easier for them to forget that we exist, we're a part of society, we're a large part of society, and it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic, and that's probably what I would say the arts has the most thing to do in this space, is remind people that we are here. We are here.
Sarah, you want to add on that? Don't say
Yeah.
that I spoke on my
No, yeah, I think I just want to say, like, I mean, for me, oh my gosh, I've totally forgot the question, but anyway, we're just going to say something.
Oh,
but
I've forgotten my own question, don't worry about it.
But I think, at least for me at the moment in the art I create, and especially in the piece that I did today, I was kind of sick of spending my whole life putting subtext in my work and being like, oh my God, I'm neurodiverse, and like not just saying it, like doing it in other ways, because I think I was scared of what people would think of me, whereas now I'm like, no, like this is who I am, and I am proud of it, and you know, still have my days where I'm like, oh my God, but yeah, I feel proud of who I am, and I want to share that with people, and yeah, just want to be like, fuck you, I'm here, like take it or leave it.
So I'm Robin Reynolds, and there's something you may not be able to tell about me. Ooh, sexy, intriguing. Thank you so much. I've actually got one of those hidden disabilities. Ooh, this sounds like it's going to be really funny. Thank you, yes. So I've actually got Crohn's disease. Wow. And if you want to know what that means about me, Crohn's disease means sometimes I shit blood. It's really hard to make it sexy. It is. It's hard to make it sexy, but I'm giving it a red hot go. So this is me trying to make Crohn's disease like funny and sexy, which I don't think... Is anyone with Crohn's disease in? No, that's great. Cool. Okay, so once a year I have to get an endoscopy. And it's not just a gastroscopy. But I also get the other, so, well, I'll tell you. So it's I get a tube down here, and then I get another tube up my arse, and then they meet in the middle, they do a little kiss. I'm no scientist, I just assume that's what's going on. And I tell you what, it's all the double penetration I need. She's doing it. She's so brave. And she's making it sexy. So I think, you know, I am a comedian. I love comedy. Whenever I think of something to write, I want to make it into a joke. Humor is how I deal with everything. And I was so scared to talk about having Crohn's disease on stage for like the longest time because I didn't really know how to make it funny. And also, I think I was so scared that someone wouldn't find me fuckable. Crazy, I know. It's absolutely crazy that would happen. Thank you. But, like, it's such a trope, you know? Like, male open mic comedians will get on stage and be like, oh, no one will fuck me. And no one would. But I just didn't want to do that, you know? I didn't want to do that kind of material. I still want to be a fun young girl and just have Crohn's disease. So thank you for going on this journey with me. And also, okay, as aforementioned, I am a dirty little Jew. I think that segue is so fun, and it either just really bums people out or people are like, she can't say that. I can. Any Jews in? Okay, so literally Katie and Dan, and none of the other ones feel safe enough to reveal themselves. No, that's fine. Classically, we love to hide. Unbelievable. You are really going to have to get on board with the Jewish trauma jokes. Literally, growing up Jewish, you learn to laugh at, like, everything. Growing up Jewish, elderly relatives will pinch you here and go, fat, beautiful, you would have survived. Okay? So that's the energy that I need from you to laugh at that. Because Crohn's disease is way more common with Jews. I don't know what to tell you. We just love passing down our generational trauma through our intestines. I don't know what to tell you. My grandparents escaped the concentration camps, and now I can't eat yogurt. So, you know, we've all suffered, haven't we? But it's way more common with Jews. It's way more common with Jews. And having Crohn's disease can get you into some pretty weird situations, okay? So I recently bumped into a man with whom I had very boring sex. Because I am bisexual, but I dabble in penis. And now you're probably thinking, like, Robin, this is incredibly relatable. You don't need to have had Crohn's disease for this to happen. And no, absolutely. Bear with me. Because I bumped into him, and he really, really wanted to talk to me. Of course he did. And I really had to go, okay? I was in a rush. You're probably still thinking, Robin, this is incredibly relatable. This happened to me yesterday, maybe. I don't know. I was just getting a vibe. No. Bumped into him and I literally was like, oh God, you know, because the sex was so boring, actually, that genuinely, like, during it, I was like, I wouldn't even mind if he started talking about cryptocurrency now. So that's the level of, like, I'm trying to escape this man, okay? But the added thing is, I'm sure we have all bumped into someone that we had terrible sex with and we needed to go, we really urgently needed to escape, okay? But the added element of my story is that I have Crohn's disease. So when I bumped into him, I really, really needed to go urgently because in my handbag I was going from the doctor's office to the pathology lab, and in my handbag I had a poo. I'm just a modern woman trying to transport my poo from one place to another. And, you know, then I bump into fucking Michael. And he's in my face and he's going, how are you going? How have you been? And to be honest, I really wanted to get out the poo. I'm not well, Michael. Please, may I go? But I didn't want to escalate the situation, you know? I like being a fun young girl. It felt like two versions of me were colliding, fun young girl and woman with Crohn's. But all the time, I'm thinking, oh my God, he's delaying me because it was an unseasonably warm day. I know, stay with me. And I didn't want to have to do the poo again because when the nurse handed me the cup and she was like, do your sample in the cup, don't let it change temperature. How? Am I supposed to have any control over this? So I'm thinking, like, if Michael fucking delays me, it is so difficult to poo into a cup. And no one's talking about this. No one's talking about these issues. It's so hard. They don't tell you how. There's no instructional video online. Well, okay, no, I found one, but it was called Two Girls, One Cup. And I suppose, I am but one girl. I had no friend to help me. Katie, maybe if you were there, we could have... So I'm thinking, oh my God, Michael, please, how do I get out of this situation? I didn't want to escalate it, I just wanted to escape, and suddenly I thought of the perfect excuse. It just came to me, I got very English all of a sudden. And I said, Michael, I simply have to go. I have a cake in the oven. The perfect excuse. No questions could arise from that. And I just felt the weight of all of that Jewish generational trauma. And I was like, Jews just know how to escape. We get it. The answer just comes to us. Now, I did mention up top, and this is Sydney WorldPride, so let's talk about it. I am bi, little bi baby, and I have a couple of types. Let's just see whether these resonate with the crowd. I have got types. We've all got types. I like tall, skinny men with cheekbones. Oh! I love them. They've done nothing, truly, yet to me, I'm like, they've achieved so much. They got up there and they grew those cheekbones, and I think the world of them. And I like women who are older than me and scary. Is that a vibe? It's a goddamn vibe. I just think mummy issues should be as sexy as daddy issues. If you work in an office, there'll be several of these ladies for you. To not be able to talk to properly. That's what happens when you fancy someone, isn't it? Overwhelming amount of sexual confidence from this side of the room. Well, that's what happens when I fancy someone. I can't talk to them, okay? And there's this lady at work. I'll just use her name and I'll bleep it out of the recording. Her name is and she has no idea what she's doing to me because you can't see my erection. It's a sexy secret I guard for myself. And so she comes over to me on Friday. The ghoul! She comes up to me and she goes, Robin, what have you got planned for your weekend? And I said... I've got a pear at home that's nearly ripe enough to eat. And possibly the weirdest part of all of that is that there was no pear. That was a lie that my brain made up to make me sound better than I am. And then I bought the pear. I have just found out, and I'm so pleased to be able to share with you, I have just found out that I am eligible to receive a little plastic card from the government. It's just a little plastic card. And it says in big letters, I can't wait to go to the toilet. I'm supposed to show this card to businesses who wouldn't normally let you use the loo. I'm also supposed to use the card to cut in line. 'Tis an invisible disability. If I cut in front of you while you're queuing for the loo with a little plastic card that says, I can't wait to go to the toilet, I feel excited. I feel excited to get in there. And oftentimes, okay, let's be real, not to stereotype, I am a girly, I love the girlies. Oftentimes, there's only one disabled loo at comedy venues. It's often taken by girlies. Groups of girlies. Now, just imagine me sliding my card underneath the door there. So, hello, ladies. It's me, the toilet police. I need to do a little poo. And I said this to a friend of mine. I said, oh, the disabled loo is always taken by groups of girls. I think they're doing their makeup. And he looked at me and he said, they're doing coke. Which, just imagine me sliding my card underneath the door. Ladies, no, give it back. That's not what the card is for.
Let's just say, but every day, whatever every day means, this showed the audience, and we had a very responsive audience, and I'm sure we will tomorrow night as well, but to show that basically I know this sounds funny, and I should have said this at the beginning. The reason why I went into performance in the first place, and this was only acting classes as a 10-year-old, so a million years ago, was I didn't have a voice. And it's very funny, you interviewing me today, and I'm not going to say who or where. I had someone who is actually studying performance at the moment, who's about to graduate, and I heard about Ground Zero, heard about the work that I do, and because you can mention it if you like, I've been awarded a Churchill Fellowship on Accessibility for Professionals.
We should mention that.
Good segue, what I say. Only lasted half an hour, we were saying it. Usually it's the first 5 minutes. I joke, other people do it for me. Like I say, it's no tagline, and it's very funny in terms of that. And this person contacted me and said, Dan, you don't know who I am. I'm such and such, from such and such. Can we have a talk to get your input to discuss how I can actually be more open or get the support I need? I'm not saying it's up to me as an individual, because I would argue the whole idea of a society, society model of disability, etc., but that was a very eye-opening moment that a lot of the issues that I've addressed X amount of years ago are still happening literally today.
Go out there, find disabled voices, follow them, listen, amplify, share. There are people out there with literally every experience under the sun sharing their experience, and we don't want you to forget us. We want you to be here by our side, fighting with us in all the battles that we have to fight. So, yeah.
Well, I do want to give a massive shout out to Brand X and Ground Zero and Sydney WorldPride, because if they hadn't put on this showcase, of which there is 2 nights, I wouldn't be talking to you right now about all of these issues. My voice wouldn't be platformed alongside these 2 other incredible artists who I have had the absolute pleasure of meeting and working with and seeing work and perform. So I think there are organisations doing the right thing. There are organisations who are making very good entertainment with artists with lived experience of disability and chronic illness. It doesn't have to be like a weird pity showcase.
What I want to say is we're here, we're queer, and we're disabled. Yeah, that's
And I guess, actually, finally, tell everybody where your handles are. Your not MySpace. Oh my God, I said MySpace. Oh my God. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, your live journal from 2001. I don't know.
So guys, my MySpace is actually no, it probably was something like XX Sarah X0X. Yeah, just Angel Slay. Yeah. My Instagram and any other handle is @_Sarah Lee, and I'm gonna have to spell it because people get this wrong. It's SARAH, Sarah with an H, and then LEIGH.
Like Rachel Lee Cook.
Yes.
And you know what? Sarah is all that. Mine are all Robin Reynolds comedy. It's Robin with a Y. And if you had trouble finding Sarah, I'm following her so you can look in my followers. And I'm also following Artemis. So it's Robin Reynolds comedy. And you can find all of these other babes from my socials.
I'm Artemis Munoz, ARTEMISMUNOZ, on all of the things except for Facebook, in which I'm Munoz Artemis for some fucking reason. Don't follow me on Facebook, it's boring, but do follow me on YouTube and Instagram and Patreon. I've got a fucking Patreon. Give me money. Give me money. Yeah.
This episode has been written, produced and edited by me, Susan Wood. The artists you heard from tonight in alphabetical order are Artemis Munoz, Christopher Bryant, Robin Reynolds, Sarah Carroll and Saskia Ellis. Theatre director, Dan Graham. If you want more information about Brand X, check our show notes in this episode. If you want to hear more from the voices of Sydney WorldPride 2023, check out episode 24. And if you so happen to like this episode and other episodes, please feel free to rate us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. And do you know what's even better than rating us a 5-star review? Tell somebody about it. Actually, no, both are pretty important. In this day and age, you really have to market hard, don't you? Yeah.